my life because I wanted to be like Joan from Girlfriends. I wanted to wear the suits. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I wanted to wear the cute outfits.
Okay, because she was wearing them suits at 10, baby. She was already a boss. Listen, we all thought we was all little and Jennifer was just grown. I mean, you're not that much older than us, but it would be. But just to say this in part to where she was saying, like, you know, you felt like you lost the ability to like make the decisions as a parent. See, for me, that didn't happen until you got with Dad. And then when you got back with him the second time, then you lost all your privileges because low-key, you were stopped from parenting how you parented us. Then you was quiet, and we was like, what? So you just gonna let this nigga just... I'm like, wait a minute. You know, like, you just gonna let him just tell it? You know, he's our father, but it's just like, you're our mom. And just like, you know, what's the Jackson... Mary Jo... What's Mary... What is her name? The Jackson... Girl. Jackson 5. What's her name? Well, she had to be like, enough, Joseph, like with the water bottle, put the towel, like, you know.
Oh, here she comes. Hi, Jen.
Hey, it's Nicole. It's both your
daughters. Oh, hi, Jen and Nicole. So my oldest and youngest daughter, I really appreciate them coming. My younger daughter's going to be joining us in a minute. So like I said, I wanted to thank them because it was difficult for me every time I did the edit, every time I wrote, I had so many tears. And even though I gave it to my daughters earlier, they experienced the same thing as well. And I didn't take that into account while I'm so excited. I'm like, go listen to this, go listen to that. And my middle daughter, Nicole, right there is like, so you do know, Mom, that this is difficult and we're reliving it too. And I'm like, I didn't think about that. So give me one moment, you guys. I'm not a professional. So Mom, give me one moment so I can.
Can you hear us, Mom?
I can hear you.
Okay, you're like
the camera is sideways, Mom. It's horizontal. Can you make it?
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I'm like, I didn't think about that. So,
Mom, we're gonna come out and go.
One moment. You gonna do what? I'm not a professional. Give me one.
Okay, can you hear us?
I can still hear you. I just can't get
your camera,
my part together. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I need my youngest daughter in here to help me. But anyway, getting back to what we were saying. So I didn't take that into account that it was going to be difficult for them as well. We'll start off with my oldest daughter. What kind of caught you off guard and caught you by surprise?
In the book?
Yes.
Oh, well, you want to introduce us first?
Oh, sorry. So I'm totally, next time it'll be way better, guys. Anyway, my oldest daughter is with the glasses, the longer hair, I would say red hair, but they're both, oh my God, they both have on glasses. Both of their hair is the same color. What is happening? Anyway, Jennifer, raise your hand. That's Jennifer, my oldest daughter. Nicole, raise your hand. That's my middle daughter, Nicole, and Darryllyn, my youngest daughter, will be joining us. Okay, Jennifer, my oldest child, what kind of caught you off guard when you read the book?
Okay, hello everybody. I think the thing that caught me off guard was that you're a woman, you know, and I think we lived through, you know, a lot of the things that you wrote about, but obviously there was a lot that happened before we were even in the picture. So I was surprised as to like, cause I'm a reader, I love reading books and stuff. And so I was surprised cause I'm obviously reading it from your vantage point and I'm like, oh, like I'm reading what my mom, the woman's experience was versus my mom, if that makes sense. So I
that
think
makes sense.
for that, it like really, it gave me such a good different perspective, because I think a lot of how I felt was from the daughter's perspective, you know, because we lived it, and I really never considered you being a woman. You know, it's so funny because my kids do it to you too. You think your parents know everything, and it's like, well, they're just regular people,
right.
just like, because I got 3 kids, and I still sometimes feel like I don't know what I'm doing. So, you know, so it really humanized for me, I think, some of like why you made certain choices and things like that. And it was just a really good eye opener that, wait a minute, like, your mom was a whole woman, you know, before she became a mom, before all this stuff happened.
Yeah. Nicole, what about you? What kind of threw you like?
Mine is like similar to Jennifer's. I just feel like we went through all that stuff, and I know how it affected us, but like during that time I just never considered how it affected you, like even just as a mom. Like, you know, the molesting, like, I know it was hard on you, but it's like now that I'm a mom, like, I just never really considered, like, you know, I can understand like how hard that could have been, like, and I didn't know you had insomnia for like,
I know,
you know, like when I think back to that time, I just thought you were so strong, like, and I just thought you were okay, you know. I had no idea you were like going through all that, you know, the inner stuff. I just, you know, I was like, mom's doing her thing fresh, she's here for us.
I know,
you know what I'm saying, like, mom's
down.
doing her thing, you know. So I never just thought like, oh, mom is going through it, like, I never thought that. Maybe when we were teenagers, like the second time when you and dad got together, but like, yeah, during that period, I never just was like, oh, this must be so hard on our mom. Like, I never
you
thought
were
that.
well. You definitely
And it's crazy because I was doing that, and I was going through, and I just want to state, there's just one rule today: nobody's crying. Fake, just kidding, because I'm already trying to tear up, because it's just so, to hear it from y'all's perspective, you know, that you know, that was true, and it was hard as well to you know, go through that. And, you know, going through, you know, when we were, the first time I married your dad, you guys were so young, you didn't know anything, you know. Jennifer, do you want to touch on chapter 2? Because it affected you less.
I was like,
if you're not ready, huh?
Chapter 2 is the molest.
Yeah.
Okay. It was weird reading it. It took me back to just like, well, one, I think it really reinforced, you know, that you chose us. You chose me. You believed me. You know what I mean? Like, you made the right decision. And a lot of people can't say that. You know, I'm a social worker now. Like, a lot of people can't say that. So it reinforced, like, obviously, again, we lived it. You know, looking back, it's like, you know, like, how many people can really say, yeah, no, my mom believed me and, you know, left and all that. And it's just so crazy the way, like, we moved in with Granny and Papa, you know, the way like things kind of played out. I don't know. I think for me, I've dealt with that part of my life. That part did not like trigger me at all or anything, because I know, like, you had my back, and, you know, you did what you felt was best. I was kind of angry though at the way people in the church handled it and how they did not support you, you know, and that's just really unfortunate. It's crazy. You can grow up with the same people, do life with people, and then because people want to keep stuff a secret or whatever, they don't support you. So that part was kind of surprising, like how they treated you, and reading it on paper. I mean, I already knew, like, reading it on paper. Okay. All of us got our, oh, your hair's not straight. I was gonna say,
I have locks.
So I wasn't like triggered reading it, but I was more upset with the adults in the room, like, that you had to make this decision with pretty much minimal support. I mean, obviously your parents supported you or whatever, but for your church family not to really support leaving a molester, like, that was very disappointing.
Yeah. Nicole, what was your And I want to introduce my youngest daughter, Darryllyn. She made it. And Darryllyn, we're talking about, well, and we'll give her the same question as well.
Okay, the church definitely wants to protect the abuser.
Yeah,
Yikes.
very true. And I'm going to make a comment on that from the book. Darryllyn, what part, your sister's already answered this, what part of the book kind of caught you by off guard and kind of, you know, stopped you right there and didn't? And I want to, before you answer that, I see that Donita Frazier is on there. I wanted to say thank you because you were one of the people that really supported me during a lot of difficult times, you and Stanley. So I want to say thank you. Go ahead.
One of the parts, which was hilarious, I was like, you still want to be married? I'm just like, no, it was the part where she said, God, if God can take it away. I'm like, after all that's happened, you don't just want to end it? I just, like, the Lord has to end it for you. I'm like, is this a new mental illness? I was about to say, let me text Jennifer because I'm like, she knows about all of them. I'm like, the mental illness just to be married? I was just like, I'm like, this is sick. Like, I really, at the end of the book, I felt like she had a mental illness. So I was like, what's happening?
So now we're on chapter 2, where Jennifer's explaining about what happened, and she said it didn't. Go ahead, Jennifer, if you don't mind. Yes.
No, I was just saying that it didn't bother me. I mean, I've dealt with doing therapy myself, like being molested and all that. You know, it was being disappointed by you not having any support. I mean, also we got therapy, but I don't know why they gave me this white guy as a therapist who talked like a baby. Totally lied to him because why are you talking like that? And also, why are you a man? So, I mean, I just feel like for effort on your part getting us in therapy, but cultural competence. I don't know who was putting those things. I was like, what? I'm never talking to you. You know, so and I just remember feeling excited that we were finally to ourselves, you know, after you get in divorce and we were like, I guess, picking up our life. I mean, and like Nicole said, you had handled things so well and we were already living with Granny and Pop. We were stable. It wasn't like we had to move, that our life was like really upended. And I thank God for that, because like looking back, that's definitely probably God's grace that, you know, we didn't have to get upended. I still went to high school. Like everything went, excuse me, you know, according to plan. So I think I don't remember it being like a whole bunch of upheaval in our personal life, but until, you know, you got back with our dad.
And Nicole, why don't you speak on that time as well? Because I know during that time you had ran away because it was really hard on you.
I was like, did I run away? Was it me?
Oh, Nicole ran away.
I know, but I was
just before we was about to leave.
I think this was like multiple things. Like, I was upset that y'all wanted to get back together. I just can't describe it. Like, it's not that we knew all the tumultuous stuff that really happened between you and Daddy, but I don't know. Like, in my heart, I just didn't feel like it was a good idea. Like, it just didn't seem right. And then it was like you guys were taking us from our entire support system. Like, you know, like as an adult now, I feel like I don't get to say I have childhood friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get to have that. I feel like I got that took away from me, you know. And it's also why I feel like me and my sisters are so close, because when we came out here, we were all we had. We didn't have anybody else. And, you know,
gang.
So I feel like it was very upsetting because, and, you know, I remember Daddy being like, I've never seen kids who didn't want their parents back together, but it's just like, you guys are not good together. Like, nobody wants this. Like,
ding, ding, ding.
And it's like, I feel like it was such a surprise because I don't think any of us ever seen it coming. We were just like, what? Like,
well, we didn't see the second marriage coming either, for what it's worth. So it was just like,
the second marriage coming either. Yeah.
Barely talk at drop-offs or whatever. I was just like, how all of a sudden now y'all back together and we're moving to Vegas?
How? We're like,
when did y'all start liking each other again? Even like, we were definitely those kids. Like, no, we like y'all apart. Have a good day. And so I think for me, I don't know, that was just a rough time for me. I mean, it was a couple things. What I did notice around that age, like, I just got my period. So, like, I was going through changes and, you know, trying to figure out why I had this, like, all of a sudden change. Well, yeah, so totally makes sense. But, I mean, it was just so much stuff going on. It was right after the patient. Like, I was, you know, and I was angry. I was already angry at that, you know, and so that was just like a slap in the face. Like, oh my God, I hated y'all.
And it's like, when I don't want to name names, but it was like, oh, is she lying? And I'm like, why would I lie about that? I'm in honors classes. Why would I lie about that? Like, that was also like, because I feel like you raised us to like have a voice. So it was never even like, oh, my mom's not gonna believe. Like, it was like, okay, how should I tell my mom? You know, I told my best friend, and then, but I mean, so it just seemed like the choices you were making were so antithetical to what you had modeled for us and taught us to be strong, to be confident. Like, so it was very confusing. Like, when it was like whiplash. Like,
I thought like in my mind, even though we didn't know all the stuff about daddy, but it's like whatever was shown between y'all relationship, even after the divorce, like I just thought you were, no offense to our father, but I just thought you were better than to be in that. I don't know. That's just how I felt. I was just like, why would she want to be with him? Like, they don't even get along. Like, you know, I think that's what I was thinking in my mind. And then I think I also felt it because I felt like if you see the way we acted with Tony, how come you didn't even come to us and be like, and if you see how that is, and like, how come you didn't ever consider seeing how we felt or how we would feel about you being back with our dad? So it was kind of like you didn't care that time, and now you don't care twice.
I know.
Great.
I was gonna say, I just thought she was dumb. I was like, so we just gonna keep on being dumb, like, over and over.
It's the truth. She was young. That's what she was.
But this is because I was gonna ask you guys, how did it all manifest for you? Because the way that it manifested for me, I didn't want no relationship. I didn't want to be dumb. I didn't want to always be like with no guy. Like, for me, it was like, I'm gonna do me. Ain't nobody telling me what to do. Ain't nobody, so I was so turned off to like having a relationship. I was just like, nah, like, I don't need all of that. Like, cause if that's what it takes, it's not for me. It's just, I just felt like, because, when you guys were leaving high school and, I was like, ooh, yay, it's finally about to be me and mom. And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. My bad.
And I was going to say where my mind was during that time, I was at zero confidence because I felt like if you could marry somebody that hurt your daughter like that, you don't have a right to be a mother. That is how I felt.
We felt like
you were everything.
You were,
and we didn't feel that way. Like, we didn't feel like you lost your decision making as a mom. Like,
you were always that girl to us. Like, that's the thing. I think I hear what Darryllyn saying about like being dumb. I think for me, I felt like I can't be weak because I felt like people kept taking advantage of you, and again, who we saw you to be, who you showed us to be, that's not how you were acting. So it was almost like you were in this is good. I felt like you were in the sunken place, and I'm over here like, where's my camera? Wake up, hello, wake up. And we wrote you letters. We tried to express ourselves, and it was like, so our voice mattered in these other places, but then all of a sudden, like, it doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter. You're going to just be who you ever want to be with. So then it kind of felt like, and even though we were all really close, I felt like we all kind of dealt with it on our own. It wasn't like we were talking about like, oh my God, how do you feel? Like, no, we were like, I mean, I tried to kill myself before when we moved to Las Vegas. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I'm a therapist. I never even considered like, oh my God, you really did try to do that. I didn't run away. And then it was like that first year that we moved, that you guys got back together, it was so miserable because we had moved. And then it was like the way everything happened. It was so abrupt. It was so quick. I was like in cheer camp, practice. All of a sudden, oh, you guys are going to be in school in Vegas next week. Like, what?
But it's like, to me, it wasn't a clue. Like, weren't we, I have this correct, right? Weren't we all in the bathroom?
Yes.
When they got married, like, we didn't even participate. Like, I remember like breaking down, crying, like, why are you doing this?
Unfortunately, that was 2 times because when I married the second person, it seemed like y'all was in the bath, y'all were crying. And this
I remember when you told us we were in the bathroom too. So yeah, I guess that happened twice, but it was just like,
and this,
do we get a vote? Like, I mean, what's happening here?
And this is where, as a parent, writing this chapter was so hard because I had to face myself. I did that, and just writing it out and saying, girl, you were so selfish. You did this to your kids twice. I cried so hard. And then when I was editing it, my oldest daughter, Jennifer, said, Mom, put the book down and walk away. To face that I chose to do that. And it wasn't a mistake. That was my choice. And, you know, I'm trying not to cry right now.
It's okay. Go ahead and cry, boo.
That I did that. And to face it, and then to hear, you know, because we've all dealt with it, you know, it was hard because Jennifer forgave me before I forgave myself. She forgave me before I forgave myself. So it took me a long time.
But what's crazy is that the thing when I think about it that I was most mad about, it's like I got it. Like, circumstance, here you are, you have 3 kids. Like, it's like I got it, but I think for me, and if I'm being honest, it felt like a betrayal because we saw you were always that girl to us. Like, always. Like, and you're still that girl to us. Like, get real. I don't care how many degrees I have. I'm calling my mom, period. You know what I mean? And like, I think that was for me because it was like, if this person that I feel like is everything to me can become this other person that I don't recognize, like, because you were still making a way for us during this time. You still made sure we did certain things or whatever. So it was literally like, how come in your dating life, you're just like a wimp, but everywhere else you are. So for me, I think like what Darryllyn was saying about like relationships, I think one, after leaving and going to college, I repeated what I saw. So, you know, and this is respectfully, you know, I'll just say an ex. It was very unhealthy, the dynamic, and it was interesting that that's the first thing that I jumped to, you know, leaving. But when I left, I didn't care because Daddy didn't come to the way you left, and you know, like I was graduating with high honors, and Daddy didn't come. Like it was just like I was so angry and numb. I did not care, and to be honest, I barely got good grades because I was just really struggling. You know, emotionally, I had a bad attitude. You know, like all this stuff, and then it wasn't until I think becoming a mom that I had like way more understanding to be like, it's not so black and white. Like, yes, this, you know, your decisions, but I think it was more so for me the betrayal of you. Not, like, yes, the choices sucked, but like you always came through. We still cheered, ran track, like so you were still showing up in ways, but it was like, why can't you be like this all the time? Like, we don't need a man in our, and it wasn't like we hated men or anything. We just knew that like the choices, they weren't good. You know what I mean?
I think we were all ready for it to just, you know, after that happened with Jennifer, I think we were all ready for it to just be us. And it was like, you just refused. It's like there just always had to be a man. Like, again, I'm sure there's a mental illness that this goes with, but I mean, because it was just persistent. It was so persistent that there had to be a guy. So I mean, I feel like we're not there. Can we get to the next chapter? My God.
Okay.
Not finished, but it's an attachment issue. So I mean, we don't have to get into that, but it is a thing. People go from, it's just an unhealthy coping thing. Some people use drugs, some people use food, some people use relationships, you know, to try and, I guess, move on, or you know, or I mean, like the book, I didn't like how you definitely idolize marriage. And
I did.
You never did that to us. Never like, y'all better get married. So I think, like Darryllyn was saying, I honestly, being married with 3 kids is like very hilarious. Like when they said Rachel was it Rachel? Sarah, when she laughed getting pregnant old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laughing at my life because I wanted to be like Joan from Girlfriends. I wanted to wear the suits. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I wanted to wear the cute outfits.
Okay, because she was wearing them suits at 10, baby. She was already a boss. Listen, we all thought we was all little and Jennifer was just grown. I mean, you're not that much older than us, but it would be. But just to say this in part to where she was saying, like, you know, you felt like you lost the ability to like make the decisions as a parent. See, for me, that didn't happen until you got with Dad, and then when you got back with him the second time, then you lost all your privileges because low key you were stopped from parenting how you parented us. Then you was quiet, and we was like, what? So you just gonna let this nigga just? I'm like, wait a minute. You know, like you just gonna let him just tell it? You know, he's our father, but it's just like you're our mom, and just like, you know, what's the Jackson? Mary Jo. What's Mary? What is her name? The Jackson
girl.
Jackson 5, what's her name? Well, she had to be like, enough, Joseph, like with the water bottle, put the towel, like, you know. I mean, it's just like, brother, enough is enough. Like, what's happening right now? Like, you know, it's just.
Her name is Catherine.
Catherine, thank you. Ooh, y'all know I'm bad with him, my bad. Catherine, when she was just like, you know, he was out there like, who left the pool by the time me? He was doing, I love you, Dad. But I mean, you doing crazy stuff like that. I mean, you know, and we're just looking at you like, if you're not gonna protect us, then who is? So then that brings in Nicole with the whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, Jennifer's gonna do the same thing. And guess what? Now I am too. And now it's, you know, it's the three of us, and we have each other's backs, and we protect each other because you weren't gonna do it. I mean, you know, so you look like, so anything that you were trying to, I don't know how you guys felt, but I felt like anything that you were trying to tell me, like, psh, I mean, like, you know, well, when I came back, you know, living from, you know, with my dad, and, you know, there was a man there, and you had only known, was it a month or 2 months?
Maybe 5.
I don't feel like it was 5, but it was a very short amount of months. And I'm just like, for me, I felt like you lost the decisions. So, you know, I came with a butcher knife, and I was like, hey, pal, if you think you're going to touch me, it's not happening. Like, you know, so because I just felt like you pick horrible choices. So, you know what? Before we get this in the bag, before you get with, again, somebody you barely know, and move him in, you know, and Nicole was just living her best life, but I was just like, nah, player, we ain't.
So about that time period, it got so bad that I had, at this point, I was backsliding, and I noticed somebody had made a comment in there that the church, they emphasize more on existing as a wife than a single woman, and that is so true. And
because they didn't have single ministries, and we didn't see that in the, like, there was nothing for I mean, you know, just to piggyback off of that, but I didn't even know about a single ministry until we went to another church, and I'm like, oh, so they do stuff for singles. You don't just got to be
married. And so I was in a backslidden condition, and I was my ultimate selfish self, because I still had 2 kids to raise, and I didn't care. And I'm just being totally transparent. I just wanted to be happy. You cannot be tired of raising kids when you still have 2 kids to raise. But that's where I was. I was tired, and I just wanted to be happy. No, so Nicole,
you only had 3 years left, bro. You was at the finish line.
Nicole was a senior.
He said, wrap it up.
Nicole was a senior, living her best senior life, and it was a hot mess. And Darryllyn came back, and she was like, dude.
It was really, that was.
Go ahead, Nicole.
That part of the book was hard for me, because I feel at that time in my life, like, you know, I was the wild child out of my sisters, and I was always wanting to go have fun and be in the streets and hang out with my friends and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I was living, but I did kind of feel like my mom didn't care. I think I just bottled it up. And I kind of think in hindsight, like, that hurt my feelings. Like, I feel like I already knew that. Me and my mom had already talked about this, but reading it, like, it kind of made me come to the realization, like, God, my mom really neglected me. Like, that really hurts my feelings. Like, it didn't make me feel different towards her. I still love my mom. But, like reading it after the book just came out, like, my feelings were really hurt to, like, accept that that's what she was doing to me. And I feel like that was kind of a big decision factor of why I chose to go military instead of college, because I felt like it was to spite her. Like, I felt like I was sticking it to my mom, like, and then my aunt died, so then I was just like, whatever. And, you know, kind of something that, like, her and my parents being together, like, I had such a bad attitude, and, you know, and I didn't care. Like, I just didn't want nothing that made me feel like what my dad made us feel like, period, what he made my mom feel like, period. Like, another man was never going to make me feel like that. Like, the moment I would challenge him the most out of my sisters, because I can't describe it, but it was almost like he would make me feel like the end goal was to break down, and I felt like I couldn't let him win that. So in certain instances, like, as what would have been seen as us, you know, me disrespecting my father, I just felt like I was taking up for myself. Like, you're not going to try to beat me down, tell me I'm not, tell me, you know, like, you know, not like that, but you can say that type of stuff to my mom. Not saying that to me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be ready to fight him, y'all.
Remember that one time they were arguing, and we like went in there, like, absolutely. Listen,
Like it was just.
listen. I don't know. Now this is also traumatic from our time. Why did you guys let us watch Oz, and why did we watch it together as a family? So from that point, no, because this is a memory in my mind. Like we should have known. Red flag. Why are we all watching Oz? But ever since then, I'm like, never, not jail, not a backseat of a car. I'm telling on everybody, and that was the time that I was ready to go to jail. I mean, obviously, I was like, I can go to juvie, but this is the last time.
I remember that. It was like World War III up in there. I was like, Jesus.
Like, and I don't even think we talked about it. We just, y'all saw me go, and y'all came too, and we were just like, not anymore. And I just think that, and we, just to be clear, like, we love our father. We have, this is 20 years ago.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I want to be clear.
We
like,
have a good relationship.
You know, and good relationship with our mom. I mean, thank God we would not be talking this freely if, you know, it was still like beef. But I think that, like what Nicole said, I've always felt like I have to protect myself. And that is so crazy because we were just having a side group chat and we were talking about, like, it just put us in survival mode, and it all manifested in our life different. For me, it was like, go to college, get out of here, leave, like, and you're the only one that can do this. It did not feel like there was a soft landing place. It did not feel so. If there has been this drive for me, like, nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And although that has been the thing that has helped me achieve, like, academic stuff, like, you know, bachelor's, master's, you know, whatever, it doesn't pale in comparison to the work that I'm still having to do to be able to trust God, to be able to, you know, after 14 years, like, really trust my husband without, you know, like, we thank God, you know, we have a way better relationship. Because in the beginning, it was like Nicole was saying, like, ain't no nigga never finna break me down. Like, you're not gonna treat me like somebody treated my mom. And I remember the Holy Spirit being like, your husband is not your dad.
And that's the thing. Sometimes the person is not, like, even in my life with different partners, like, I'm in a healthy relationship now, but in other instances, sometimes the other person can just be expressing themselves, but it's like, it's a trigger. If it's anything that makes me feel like you're trying to do that to me, then now I have to challenge you. And, you know, that's just the issue when you have a partner, because, like, they need to be able to express themselves, as do I. So,
but it was like everything was domestic. Everything was like divorce. So, like, when we had our first little tiff, listen, oh, Conrad, I can leave. And one day, Conrad was like, enough. Like, let's figure out. You're not going anywhere. And literally, like, that reassurance of, like, I see this is like you're triggered or something. Hey, Brittany, you know, let's try to work through it a different way. And it was like, that was key to unlock, like, why am I responding this? I think a lot of it was like inner kid, we wanting to fight on your behalf. You never stood up to him. And then it was like, you always had our back, like, always. And then all of us, it's like you became this whole other person. And I felt so betrayed. Like, this is not that came up to the school when the lady was like, you can't be a doctor because you're black. Like, this was who you were. You know what I'm saying? And so I think for all of us, we have all tried to make sure we're not being taken advantage of. And I think, too, on the flip side, we have maybe stayed with partners longer than we stayed in unhealthy situations in the past, too, because even though you know it's not healthy, it's the dynamic that you see. The subconscious. Like,
we're answering that question.
Okay.
How did this, I mean, it absolutely affected, I feel like, our relationships with men. Like, you know, one thing my dad, I felt like he tried to give us, like, the real, unreal life, because, you know, he grew up in the church, but he also was in the streets. So I felt like he tried to make sure we knew, like we weren't dumb. Like, you know, this is what out there, like, life can get real, like, stay on your toes. Like, you know, he did that. But at the same time, he never went through, like, this is how a man should treat you. This is what you should never allow. These are the type of games that men play. This is how you should feel about your body. He never did those things. All we seen him do was be, like, you know, mean and hard. So, like, I've always seen my dad have a job, and he always made me feel protected and loved. So then when it came to searching for men, but then again, my dad was in the streets. So what I seen was like, oh my God, I wanted somebody who was tough like that, like, who loved their family, you know, because we have, like, we're really close as a family. And, you know, my dad is for real about, you know, he loves us, and he's big about his family. So, you know, I wanted something like that. So the type of men I kind of gravitated to at first. I couldn't tell that I was trying to find something that was kind of similar to my dad. And it took me a while to realize how unhealthy it was.
Yeah.
You know, like how detrimental it was. Like, yeah, he had some good qualities, but the other stuff was like, it was the stuff that went together. I was like, oh my God, I am choosing like many.
And Daddy had a lot of brothers. So I think too, like having, excuse me, his sister was the youngest, but they didn't like grow up together. And then you have 3 daughters. And we're like dainty, girly girls, you know, like, I mean, you know, we did stuff, but so I felt like we always knew he loved us, but his approach was so hard. So it was like, you gotta not be, you know, soft. You gotta like just.
And that's how I felt like he made us like all just like
all hard.
All like, let me clap you down real quick. I mean, mommy too, but certain stuff, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be Daryl's daughter today because let's go. 4 and 5 partner. I'm gonna need to see everybody. Yeah, hey, my man. You know, most so you know, in that aspect, you know, I do like look for a man that's like, I need you to handle this because, like, you know, my dad, you know, if the fries ain't even, you know, so don't be, you know, I'm gonna need you to run that back. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so for me, it's like you wanna, like, we seen him handle stuff in like certain ways, and I was just like, well, you know, I want a boss like that too, you know. So I want to be the, you know, I'm little Daryl, so you know, I could tell somebody something. I could, you know, be like, hey, my man, like, you know. Now I know people don't like to go to restaurants with me, but you know, whatever. But I'm gonna get what I paid for, boo. I'm gonna get it. Shoot. No, but you know, so for me, you know, I would want to find somebody that, you know, could not so much they have to be a street person, but you know, I want somebody, you know, like if the fries ain't right, we ain't accepting that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but not just that, but you know, I wanted somebody too at the same time that was a little soft, but somebody that goes hard for their family, you know, like how he did and how that was really big. But that was big between the both of them, like family, and they impressed on us being, you know, gangsters. But
you guys see the question?
Yeah, it did affect, I think, the question Sean asked was, does this affect the way we parent our sons? Because me and my sisters all have sons. And then from someone who was a part of your lives, your children are some great children. Did that affect your parenting? It absolutely did affect I feel like all 3 of us on how we choose to parent. Like, out of all of this, I feel like our mom was a great mom. So for me, I definitely aspired to be as good of a mom she was. I feel like I don't come close because that's how good of a mom she was. You know? So I aspired to be the type of mom she was. And then with my dad, like, one thing I feel like I never felt like my dad didn't love us. Not ever. It was never one time I ever had to question if he loved us. But the stuff that he did to make us feel like we couldn't come talk to him. We couldn't be who we were. We had to be, you know, I never wanted my kids to feel like that. And some of that too made me feel like, because of what I see my parents go through, like, yeah, I got kids and I have different baby fathers. But for me, it was more important to me that I didn't settle and that I wasn't unhappy. Like, yes, in some of those like relationships with them, I could have stayed. I could have got married to them. We might have could have worked it out. But I would have been very unhappy. And what would I have taught my kids? And like, I'm not a perfect parent either, but I refuse to let my kids grow up what we had to grow up around, like hearing our parents argue. Like, for me, I always wanted to be out the house because the home environment was so trash. Like, I didn't want to be there. It brought me down so much. I never wanted to be home.
None of us.
So I ran track. I was in a step group. Whatever I could do, I needed to be gone. I did not want to be in the house. I worked, ran track, and went to school. I did honors classes too. Like, I just didn't want to be in the house. So I just feel like it does. It made me want to create an environment where my children could be themselves. I feel like one thing my parents did teach us was to be okay with who we were and to stand on that. And I want to make sure all my kids can do that. Like, whether it's believing in God, being, you know, whoever you are, stand on that, you know. So
I think for me, parenting, and this is where, because Jay's going to be an adult, I can't believe it. For me, if I'm honest, I think I overcompensated a lot, especially after 20, when the shutdowns and stuff happened and I was still working in person. I feel like, well, really, to be honest, it triggered me because and that's later in the chapters when you do finally move and all that stuff. Like, seeing empty shelves, it just made me think about how we were displaced and we really didn't have like a lot. But I feel sometimes like I go over, like in Conrad, my husband, like, their life is not, they didn't go through what you went through. So they don't have the same experience. And I think for one, like I love that for them, like all of our nieces, like all the kids, you know, but I do think that it's also, like Nicole said, try to make sure that the environment is safe where they can come tell us, and that it's okay to be wrong. Like not to every time you did apologize and stuff, but I just means more so like really being attuned with our kids. I think we listen to our kids how they feel too. So it's like, because it's so important. Like if my kids don't feel comfortable going to a certain place, like it's like, okay, no, you don't have. I mean, obviously with their reason, you know, but I think that we give a lot of autonomy, and they're all good kids. Like none of them are like in a principle. You know, they're smart. They're really good kids. So I think them having a voice was very important. Although in the beginning, I was parenting like my dad a little bit, like, you know, behavior wise, because Jay was a lot. Okay, Jay was running around in the streets, you know, always busy, very hyper. So it really helped me, I think, reframe, like making sure that it's really important that the kids, like you said, have a voice that they can say, like, you hurt my feelings. And I like how you will ask your kids, like, how am I doing? Like, I love like, that. How can I do better? I always like I do a review with my children and ask them, like, what are some things that they don't like that I'm doing? Because, you know, it's like I do it to them.
And I hope you do that review right on back to them, because you know what these kids do. Woo!
To them, like, when I feel like there's things in their characters that need some fine tuning, you know, I get on their back. So, you know, I'm their mom, and I don't feel like they're just going to come say that to me. So I ask them, like, you know, what don't you like that I'm doing, or what do you feel like I can be better at? And then when they tell me, I just try to take it and say, okay, I can work on that. Like, you know, because I don't want to make them feel like what they're saying is not valid. I mean, some stuff they say is funny because I have an 8 and 6-year-old, like they'll be like, well, I don't like when you tell me to do my chores. And, you know, in those cases, it's like, well, you have to do your chores, so I can't, that's not something I can change. You know, you're going to have to do that. But like when it's stuff like, oh, mom, like when I'm talking to you, sometimes you're on your phone and I don't feel like you're paying attention. All right, too easy. I'm going to make sure I make a conscious effort to make sure when you're speaking to me that you have my undivided attention. You know, so just stuff like that, because we're not perfect. Right. And I feel like and to a degree, I don't feel like our dad was like that either. Like, I feel like you were like, you know, you didn't tell us all your business, but you kind of made it at some point where you're like, I'm a person, you guys. Like, I made mistakes. Like, your mom's not perfect. And then whether dad shared some stuff with us or not, we knew he wasn't either. And I don't ever think he tried to be like, you know, there's some stuff I know he didn't want us to know maybe, but he never tried to act like he just never did nothing bad or nothing wrong. So I feel like, you know, y'all kind of kept it real for us at the same time.
So for me, I like for them to, my kids and their, well, I mean, they're little, but their emotions. So my almost 3-year-old, I like to, because, you know, for me, all that stuff, it just made me shut down. And that's still how I process stuff, is I just shut down. So when she's starting to get mad and, you know, do stuff now, I'm like, okay, let's identify the emotion. You're mad. It's okay to be mad, but you can't talk to me like this. You can't, you know, go throwing everything around. So let's go outside. Let's take a deep breath. Like, you know, because they were great, you know, and some of the stuff, you know, I feel like Nicole, her being intentional, I try to make sure that I'm an intentional parent, you know, with my kids, you know, like, so how she was so in tune with us, you know, like knowing their body, what their regular body temper is usually at, or, you know, just stuff like that. But those emotions though, I don't want my son to be winter either, just as people. I don't want them to be people that lash out and you don't know what to do with your emotions, because I feel like a lot of the stuff with daddy, I mean, you weren't taught. I mean, you know, it was just hard yelling, and, you know, now we know that there's a different way. So, you know, if I do catch, you know, and then it wasn't even like an apology from him, you know, after he was done yelling and doing that. So for me, because, you know, toddlers are crazy. So for me, when she's acting like that and I'm just fussing, I have to go back to her and I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't want to fuss at you, but, you know, and I told her, I'm like, mommy's frustrated. I want to cry too, okay? I want to cry with you because this is so ridiculous. Like, I don't understand, but, you know, I can't break her as a person, you know, like I see what I'm doing to her and I try to fix it, versus, you know, you did this to us and you yelled, but, you know, you didn't come back and like, you know, we matter. You know, we matter. We were still people, you know, we were kids, but we still had feelings, and a lot of that stuff, you know, hurt my feelings. You know, the way that he would talk to us, or you know, say some stuff about my weight. Again, you know, these are all issues and stuff that we have resolved with our dad. But you know, so.
And I would say that clearly we're still on chapter 3. They were older, and even in chapter 3, they were grown.
Thank you, Sean, and we love and miss you too.
It was really the chapter 3. It was more difficult than the other chapters because chapter 1 they were little. They don't remember a lot of stuff. Chapter 2 was just hard in itself. And chapter 3, now I had teenage daughters.
When we get to the chapter, or we can just go in, baby, because
This is the chapter, Darryllyn.
What
Are you talking about Voldemort?
Huh? And then so then after that happened, you know, now I just somehow I thought marriage 4, chapter 4, was better. I can get married and stuff because now my kids are grown.
Chapter 4,
and I don't have to worry about nobody because everybody grown.
Please, baby, please. I was the first one to get into it with that man. Let me tell you. Listen,
you know, I was just thinking, like, how many times are we gonna do this?
I'm on, but you know, it was different still because I feel like we are grown and we are close, and we were trying to establish new boundaries at the same time. Right. But at the same time, I still don't feel like I was wrong. Like, you know, I don't know. That chapter, more than anything, it pissed me off. Like, that chapter, the 4th marriage. Mm-hmm. That chapter makes me...
What?
Nothing, your look.
He'll get the business.
I call him Voldemort, as Andrew said. Voldemort, he who shall not be named. I think at that point,
it's a disrespect.
We were all grown. I was married. You know, me and Nicole are parents.
Had kids, yeah.
And I think that the hardest thing was seeing you get treated that way. I feel like we really did try. Like, I gave it a good faith effort. Like, if this is what she's on, if you like it, I love it. Like, we're all close. That's not stopping the show. But I do feel like this is when you still were, and forgive me, a pick-me, because it was just like all the red flags are red flagging, and we even had a talk. I'm like, Mom, are you sure? Because like you don't have to do this. Like, you know, like, and I just think that, and like, you wanted somebody so bad, and also, you know, having sex and stuff. And I think that is where I think too, reading the book, it didn't support how poor theology really harmful to people, because I think a lot of what was driving these decisions were like very black and white things versus just being honest with yourself. Like, hey, I'm struggling. I do want to be with somebody. Am I in a good space? Whatever. So it was like it was like the same thing, but in a different package this time.
Still all or nothing. Sex, married, you know, like.
And I was explaining that to Darryllyn, and I think when I was on the other podcast, that I was living a saved life. I was professing salvation, so I didn't want to seem like a hypocrite. So then I needed to go ahead and get married because you're not stopping what you're doing.
And just so everybody knows, that was a very big thing in our house, being real, being honest, and like, you know, and standing on that. So, you know, to a certain degree, I got it, you know, like, you know, and especially because you were an example to us. So it's just like, you know, if this is what I'm saying, you know, I'm gonna live it out, I'm gonna walk it out, you know, whatever. But, you know, you still, and one of the things that I did take away is that, baby, I could leave any situation. I'm out of here. Like, you know, I don't have to stay. I'm not just gonna be unhappy, and, you know, I don't need to be a martyr. I don't need to die for this cause. Like, go with God. Go with God. Like, you know, I'm out of here. But I mean, it's just the chapter with the last husband, to me, it was more sad that this is what you're still accepting. Like, it's not even like how she was being treated. It's you're still doing it. Like, this is what you're choosing to say, okay, I'm gonna do this, and the Lord has to pull you out. I just feel like, what part of you just didn't want better for yourself? Like, I mean, I just feel like after you've been on this earth, like, you know, because you were like 50, 51.
I was, yeah. 51.
I mean, I'm just like, still like, I just feel like, don't you get to a point where you just want to be happy? Like, you just want to be good? Like, and that's why it's so nice to see it now, that, because I'm just like, you wanted to hold on to a man, but look at how full your life is now. Like, look at how that looks. It looks amazing. Traveling, doing what you want to do, like, whenever, like, it looks good on you, being single. And it's not, it doesn't even seem like it's a thing. Like, it's just who you're just living your life. You're just being you, and it looks great on you. And I mean, that's definitely good to see. But I think just throughout the whole book, it was just sad that, you personally didn't get it until after 50. And I was just like, your roots and stuff, like, the religion, because our generation, our people, none of us feel like that. You had a baby, we're not just getting married, like, just because, we're not doing that, because we saw how that worked out for y'all, and that wasn't, the greatest. But I'm happy that you do got it. And one thing that I did want to share, as far as, like, me and my mom go, and her, choosing the guy over me. One of the things, when I was getting some healing, God showed me, like, specifically what she went through and what she was feeling. And it completely changed the way that I saw her and everything, because, well, now, now that I'm a mom and stuff, but I think as children too, and of course, what do we know, but they're more than just a mom. Like, she was, they talked about her, yeah. But, like, she's still a woman, and I was just like, she was the battered woman syndrome. Like, just all of that is just like, you're trying to deal with your stuff, and at the same time, parent kids, like, that's really hard. And to still, like, get up and do it every day. And, you think your kids can't feel stuff, but how I'm happy she knows now that she was selfish and everything. But when she was doing it, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like she was done. It felt like, it was selfish, and it felt like, what about us? But that's exactly what was happening. And it's just like, I was just like, I still got time left. It was just like, well, mommy, whatever. But kids know, like, I knew. I'm like, it felt like you were done. I mean, I could tell, like, this ain't no secret. So, as parents, you think you're trying to, well, I don't even think she was trying to cover it up, because at that point she just didn't care. But I'm just saying, as parents, we could think that we're trying to cover something up, or, telling them something, but the kids know. They know. And it's just like, I thank God that we have a mom that, apologized, got it right. Even certain conversations that we've had with our dad, and certain people, they don't get that from their parents. They feel like they did what they did.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, and you just got to move on. And it's just like, how dare you? Like, I mean, just like, y'all want to tell us, we're wrong. Guess what? You have to say, I was wrong too. Like, and it's not going to change anything that happened in the past, because no, you can't go back and parent 10-year-old kid, 4-year-old kid, 15-year-old kid, whatever. You can't do that. But it does mean something to us, because it's just like,
You acknowledge.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is, acknowledging, because we're not saying that you have to be perfect, or, we know you can't fix it, but acknowledging it is just like, it's like a sigh of relief. Because, and I want to say something to the kids that have something with issues with your parents too. You have to move on. I mean, you can only hold on to them for what they did to you as a kid for so long before that transfers over to you, and now you have to do the work and let this stuff go. And are you going to continue to love your parent and forgive them and move on, or are you still going to hold on, and we're just going to keep on having the same conversations year after year? And it's just like, this stuff, we can forgive each other. I mean, I'm happy that we were able to, and, now we're older, and we can move on, and it doesn't look like, what we've been through. But for the people that are still holding on to some stuff for their parents, and even holding on and waiting out for apology, I'm so sorry that some of you guys are not going to get that, but you just have to, I hope that some of you guys can just, make peace with that, and be able to start to move on. And, and then that'll make you a better parent too, because, if you're holding on to something with your parent, your kid is probably gonna be doing the same thing, and it's just like, don't you want some grace and stuff from your kid?
Well,
I do.
Is that when you're triggered and stuff, you're coming from that little kid, so you're not even aware. Because as a therapist, I see a lot of times people don't. When you're talking about like the kids, know modeling is a huge part of parenting, and that's why the whole "do as I say and not as I do" is not a real thing. Like, your kids are gonna like, why do we do certain, we wash our clothes a certain way, whatever, because that's how we were taught, right? So that's what kids see. And I do think, yes, there's a point you do have to work through it, and for some people working through it might be go no contact or have the boundary with their parent. Like, I don't think everybody's situation is different, but I do think that, and I'm thankful that despite all that we've experienced, that God has really graced us to have a relationship with both of our parents, and really still to maintain like our togetherness, because it was rough. It was rough for a while, you know what I mean? And I was like, especially right after graduating high school, I was very angry, for like a long time. But yeah, you're right. You got to work through it, because if you don't, it's like then you start to project that onto your kids, or we have a tendency to overcorrect. Then it's like, oh, I never did this to my kid. It's like, your kids don't even have that same story.
Yeah.
And to me, the most ironic thing is that I wanted to have a wedding and be not even a wedding. I wanted to be a wife so bad that it was never my thing. For you got 3 daughters, and I never was like, you guys got to get married. We got to have a big wedding. I was like,
because I don't think it was ever about the wedding for you.
Yeah,
it was just about it was about
saying
the
it
marriage.
out loud.
I mean, because when it was Jennifer's time to get married, you were very encouraging and stuff. So I mean, you were cool, but it was never about the marriage. Like, the other moms that'll be like, oh, you need the dress and blah blah blah. It was more so about the marriage for you, not the wedding.
That's true.
What did Nicole say?
I said, you know what? It never was that serious.
Even
Never.
like, it's like, I do want to get married, but I'm not opposed to it. I never grew up like, I see my mom be a wife, and I see my mom be a single mother also. So to me, it was like, I never grew up like, I hate men, I don't need a man. Even with my own experiences with men, like, I do want a man. I need one in a healthy way, not an unhealthy way. But it was just like, if I don't get married, I'm cool with that. Because what I'm also cool with? I'm also cool with not wasting my time. Not, being around somebody who doesn't love or treat my kids right. Like, I'm cool with avoiding all that. Even if it took me to find myself until my kids got old. Like, if I didn't meet the partner I had now, I was completely okay with doing that until my kids got grown. Because what I'm never okay with, my kids having to be around somebody they don't like, or that doesn't really love me or love my kids. So yeah. I think it mattered more to me that I had a marriage than to just be a wife, just to say I'm a wife. Like, no, if I'm gonna be a wife, I want a real partner. I'm not getting a divorce. I wasn't gonna get married 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I wasn't going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it. It was simple to me. To me, it's like, if you love somebody, you do them right. If you say you committed, you committed. That's it. Do whatever play in between. I just wasn't doing it. And if I felt like I knew in my heart you wasn't the one, I just wasn't going to continue the relationship with you. It's just that simple for me. Yeah. So for me, I do want to get married, but I was never one of the girls who have my whole wedding planned out, the colors, what I know. Like, baby, I'm one of them ones, we can go to the courthouse and then we can have a party afterwards, and then everybody can come. Like, and if it wasn't for everything I've been through with me, and I want, like, me wanting my family to celebrate me being happy, listen, nobody would be there but me and the person. Yeah, for real.
Let me ask you guys this. Did y'all, when I first, after this last situation, the last marriage was over, did you guys think that your mom could be single?
I was hopeful.
Like, I feel like it was in the air thing, because I'm like, maybe she had enough. Like, maybe like
no,
this one really.
No. I was like, she gonna be here for a little bit, and then, to be honest, it wasn't. I mean, maybe a little bit. I was like, okay. Actually, to be honest, I didn't think it, but it really wasn't on the top of my mind. What was on top of my mind was, if you try to get back with my dad, I'm cutting everybody off, and I stand business on that. Like,
we all stand business on that.
Jesus Christ will have to come from heaven, sprinkle down, okay? Have background music and have flutes playing in the back to be like.
And I still wouldn't accept the decision.
Like, stiff arm.
I might call Jesus a liar.
So I think for me that was because it always felt like when you were single, because we didn't say it, but like I remember coming home from college and it was like you got back with dad, and I was like, I'm out of here because it's happened too much at this point. If that happens, like, and now with my kids, because I feel like that will bring out a whole other side of me that I never want my kids to see that, and like for my mental health, like it would be devastating. But like I can't. I really just. It was too. We've gone through too much.
Too much, yeah.
You know. So I think that was mainly the thing that I was thinking about after that situation.
So you guys seeing your mom today. I think my divorce was final on March of 2017.
We celebrated my click click.
And how many years has that been? 6 years. So what do you think? And I'm so proud that I can show your children, because some of these grandkids don't know about Nana and no husband.
Good.
Look, they think this is our Nana and that's it. So how do you guys feel about your mom and me being single now, and what the new character or the new me that I'm showing you guys?
Yeah. Proud of you. I feel like you're becoming what we already felt like we knew. You know, like I don't think it was about us not feeling like you were that woman or mother, like you didn't, because I feel like you made us completely were. Like even though I feel like my dad had slight influence on some of those things, we're mostly around you, so I feel like to be completely different than you were. Like you raised us to open up our mouth and stand up for ourselves. Like nobody's talking about. So I feel like I'm just really trying to feel comfortable enough to just far holiday, like to for us to be like finally like, Mom, I'm glad you finally see it. Like I'm glad. Like somebody said they can't hear the audio. Mama, please.
Is anybody else having an issue with the audio? I think for me, I am so happy. I feel like you are fully your whole self now. I feel like, you know, whether you get in another relationship at some point, to me, I feel like if it happens for you,
you would be ready now.
You would be ready.
You would choose right.
And I think that it was so important, not even for us. I think it was important for you because I think that you've always been motivated by external factors, the church, us, whoever you were dating, but for you to like make the hardest decision, picking yourself and doing the work, like this is years. Like you started the book in 2018. It's 2023, and so like to see your metamorphosis and it's like you live a full life. Like you are not, because I think people make it like, especially for women, that life is you're missing out if you don't have a man, and that's just not true. And I mean, and obviously I'm saying this as a married person, but I just feel like we aren't just the role. Like you're still yourself first, and I feel like the book really kind of showed that you never put yourself first ever, and now you are. I love that it's like, oh, Mom, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going out of town.
Can't keep up with her schedule.
It to us in the Apple calendar. I'm like, what you mean?
Right.
Like, how many? And I love that. When did you leave?
Yeah.
Even the kids, they be knowing before me. Nana's out of town. How you know? You are not around. It's like
I don't even ask anymore. I just look at her location. I just be like, let me just check where she's at. I just
stalker.
Yeah. So, but it's just like to me, it's so amazing to see you like living your best life. Like you're happy. Like
joy.
The grandkids love you. Like you doing what you're supposed to. I feel like at this point, if a man did come, I feel like it would be more so like we know that's the guy. Like we know you ready to choose the right man and to be, you know, like we know, you know. So I feel like it's a different expectation, and it's just so good to see you loving yourself for who you are. Yes. Not who Daddy said you was, church, not who church said you could be, right? Like you just being you, and I love that, Mom, because you're such a great person. You were such a great mom. Nothing can ever, you know, change that.
And I feel like you're always my standard when it comes to being a mom. Like when I stayed at home, and God bless all the stay-at-home parents, because I'm not about that life. I literally, you had the daycare. Everything that you did at the daycare, because like to me you've always been the blueprint. Like even though we're not same in personality, like, you know, I'm more girly girl, whatever, but like as far as being a woman, being a mom, and I think that's, you always been a great mom, but now it's like I'm watching you be a good woman and you inspire me. Like it's never too late. I remember mom would be like I just missed out. I'm like, girl, you still breathing. Like it's not too late. And I just feel like I aspire. This is why we all have to die together as the Notebook, because I just feel like I don't, you know, like rapture us up together. Like I don't know, because I just feel like you are such a staple in all of our lives, and even though we have to share you with other people now, whatever, of that.
Like I told mommy, I would choose her every time, in any world, any place, anytime, to be my mom.
I still wouldn't want a different mom. Like I say it all the time. Like even with the stuff we went through, I'm like, my mom was a great mom though. Like
still
like
is a great mom.
Like I just remember junior and senior year, mom being like, you need to take your SATs. Like please get off my back. I love you, but get off my back. You gotta do this.
She's still like that, you guys. This child, I cannot text her too many times. Okay,
mom.
As you asked me for confirmation of something 3 times this morning.
You're not. But when Nicole,
in hindsight, like how many parents do you know who just doing that consistently on their kids, like reading to their kids, making sure they can read? You know, like to me, the biggest one for me was providing us with different experience outside of like the regular Black culture stuff. Like, you know, we went to so many museums. Like it's like you made sure we were so diverse.
Gardens,
Make sure we were smart. You made sure like we learned a little bit of Spanish. You know, oh, you're gonna take this language. If you want to do more, you can do more. Like you made sure like I can walk in any room and have a conversation with anybody. And I feel like that's because of you. And the other part of I feel like it's because of daddy, because daddy was so raw and he was so hard. He gave me tough skin. So it's like when I went into the military, that was easy work. Like, you know, I'm good.
Don't you feel like being Daryl's daughter, like can't nobody say nothing to me?
Yeah. So it's like even when it comes to business or other stuff, I feel like I can maneuver in those rooms because not only did my mom teach me like I could be smart, like I'm just not the average Black girl, but my dad also taught me like I don't have to back down from anything. Yeah. I can be who I am, like you know, confident. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be that girl and still be all that. Like, you know, so it's like I feel like we got the best of both worlds. And you know.
And I do want to, you know, give a shout out to their dad. One time he came out to California, we were talking, and he told me about that second marriage. And he said the Holy Spirit told him that if I would have known he was like that, I wouldn't have married the person. And it made me feel good that he told me that. And I told him, I really appreciate you saying that, because it was such a hard time in my life. And it could have just went different with me, even with me and their dad. So I just want to thank him for, you know, acknowledging that and letting me know that. And as we wrap it up, this whole thing could have, you know, because of my choices, I could have a different story with my daughters. And as this week, I picked different stuff to be grateful for. I was grateful for the relationship that I still have with my children and my grandchildren and my parents and my sister. But I'm so grateful that
I know we're so important
with the relationship of my daughters. I really am. I feel so blessed. I went to this church, you know, when I first moved out here, and they said, oh, it was New Antioch, and they said, oh, once you go in there with the pastor, she's gonna tell you exactly what you're called to do. And she just looked at me and she said, you just really have an unusual relationship with your daughters. And I was like, but today I understand what she meant. I really do. And I'm so grateful. I just really am. And I really love and appreciate you guys so much. And you can find this book on Amazon.com. Huh?
It is going to give you a reason to question maybe some of your behaviors and relationships. Like, read the book. It's not long. It's good. It's free on Kindle. If you have the Kindle app, the book is free on Kindle, and it's only $9.99 to purchase the paperback. It's totally worth it.
And please leave a review. Please.
Leave a review.
And thank you for, you know, sharing a piece of your life and time with me and my daughters. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
and
y'all.
I'm definitely gonna call you, Donita. And it is available on Amazon. Also, you can join. You can subscribe, and I send out emails just so I can keep you. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and also you can join the mail email with Lynn Smith. Jennifer, can one of y'all type it in there? LynnSmithAuthor.com.
You out here, Donita? What's going on?
I don't even know what the.
You're in Vegas?
Hey, come on now.
All right. I love everybody, and we may do it again, or I'm definitely going to be doing something again. So I'll keep everybody posted. LynnSmithAuthor.com.
She said, live in my butt. I know that's right.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining. Oops.